cheapest and easiest way to build is off the plan, where you have standard configurations and dimensions for efficiency, although it can lead to some of our suburbs looking a little bit the same.
But it doesn't take much to personalise your place to make it really stand out from the crowd, and this one is something really special.
Yeah, taking its inspiration from the deserts of Arizona and California, this modernist masterpiece looks right at home on the far north coast of New South Wales.
Yeah, it's a story of landscape and architecture coming together to really create a statement.
So often with a new build, you have quite an austere front gate or fence, and you don't actually get to see the garden behind it. But here you have the complete opposite. They've actually pushed the boundaries in a little so that you can actually have this fantastic garden on the street.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love the way you can see through the fence to the house. I love the combination of the hard materials and the planting, the rocks, and how it spills out into the garden. And there's not a hard edge on it. It's great.
Look how excited he is. Look, I know you're excited about the garden, but I'm actually going to check out the architecture inside.
Let's have a look at both. For once.
Now, this is brilliant. This line-based render is used on both the internal and the external walls, which instantly blurs that idea between the indoor and the outdoor areas. The brilliance of this design, though, is its simplicity. You have a simple U-shaped home, which actually looks out onto this internal courtyard. In fact, there's a couple of courtyards, and they play a really important part with this design. Yes, they give you something beautiful to look at visually, but they also help with circulation, ventilation. They get light into areas that otherwise would be dark, and they also help with privacy. Now, in here, the warmth is added by the materials. You've got the timber, you have the travertine underfoot, and then up here you've got a concrete ceiling which cantilevers out, which obviously provides protection from rain and also gives you shade. Now, why? You have this seamlessness between the interiors and the exteriors that makes the most of the subtropical climate. I mean, the beauty of this part of the world is that you can actually live outdoors for the majority of the year. And even though they've used these really tough and robust materials, they still have moments of brilliance. I mean, look at this. It's very rare that you would actually describe a concrete and steel floating staircase as delicate, but this, they've achieved it, and I think it is absolutely brilliant.
This garden is ram-packed full of rare and unusual plants, and that's because the homeowner has a specialist nursery. There's plants that you'll see through here which are available, like euphorbias and these fantastic agaves, but it's not all about shape and form. You're also going to get some flower as well. A lot of people buy succulents and cacti, and they don't really know how to display them, and they don't know how to display them en masse, but this garden does it absolutely perfectly.
Now, the temptation could have been to build a massive house that went right out to the boundaries and was 2 stories the whole way around, making the most of this very generous-sized block. But the owners knew what they wanted. They wanted 3 bedrooms downstairs, and the only part that is elevated on this first floor is the master suite. You have a fantastic bedroom, walk-in robe and bathroom. Now, obviously, it makes the most of the views, and you capture the ocean breezes. The ocean is just over the trees there. But if you're worried about privacy, they've thought of that too, because they have this fantastic aluminium slat screen, which one helps with the breeze, provides filtered light, and takes care of the neighbours.
When it comes to looking after a garden like this, it really is plant and forget. These plants, they're not going to need any additional irrigation and really minimal fertilising. The one thing they won't tolerate, though, is wet feet, so you need excellent drainage. And it's increased here by bringing in these mounds. It's fantastic. When you're putting together a planting scheme like this, it needs to be more of a painting rather than allowing plants to grow into a space like you might do with a normal garden, and that's because they're so slow growing. Jason, the owner, has done a fantastic job with this planting, but to add the maturity, he's added these palms, and they sort of pull the whole thing together like tent poles in a design. Really, really clever. Have a look at this plant down here as well. Now, this is something you might see in the garden centre, just a small golden barrel cactus, but this one is so advanced, it's starting to have all these pups, and we're even getting a little bit of a flower as well.
Look at the smile on your face. You are obviously loving this garden.
I absolutely love it. You know, everywhere you look, you can take a little picture, a little mental picture of your mind. It's just like It's fantastic. I love it.
I do actually think that they have achieved the perfect harmony between the landscape and the architecture of the house.
They have.
I also love this little undulation here in this internal courtyard.
Yeah, it's all throughout the garden, you know, it aids in the drainage as well, because it raises it up. But these rocks just look fantastic in it. They're incredible. A tip, if you wanted to do this at home, I guess, it seems a bit odd, but you need to bury quite a lot of the rock.
OK, so it actually looks like it's meant to be there.
Meant to be there, and it looks like it's coming out of the ground rather than just placed on top of it.
Look, I think they look absolutely fantastic, but they had to crane every single one of them in. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, they would have had to do it with every single plant as well, so there's a lot of work in this garden, there really is.
The one thing that we haven't mentioned, though, it's kind of like the, well, you could say it's like a green elephant in the room, or underfoot at least. What are you thinking?
Look, I don't normally like fake grass. I don't go for it. But in this location, it seems to suit. And the undulations, they work for the drainage as well, and they work for the use of the artificial grass. So you'll only hear this once, but it gets the tick of approval in this house only.
It gets a tick and a hiss.